Big Sky Conference with Southern Utah leaving redid their schedules over the next 3 years, and there was a big change for Idaho and for a lot of teams, but for Idaho, that's what we care about. Teams have new protected rivals. So if listeners don't know what that means, because the Big Sky Conference is huge, we can't play teams every team can't play every other team every single year. So we have what are called protected rivals. Those are 2 games that you're going to play every single year. The term rival is loose. We could probably call it protected game that should matter a little bit more because, of course, not all the rivalries are what we think of when we say the word rivalry. But for Idaho, we have had Eastern Washington and Montana as our recurring games. Frustration we talked about on this show is that we didn't get to play Idaho State every year. We traded. We still have Eastern Washington playing every year. We're no longer playing University of Montana year in and year out. We are going to be playing Idaho State instead. And that game for the next 3 years is going to be treated as a special rivalry game where it's the last game of the season, kind of like Cat Grizz is the last game of the season, kind of like the Causeway Classic between UC Davis and Sacramento State is the last game of the season. I'm pretty sure that, Chris, you're going to be like me where there isn't one answer to like how you feel about some of this change for Idaho. We can talk about the other teams too, because we need to go over what the worst new protected rivalry game is. It's not one of ours.
I actually love that idea.
Yeah, but Chris, what's your reaction to the change for us?
For Idaho, I'm a little bummed. I wrote an article about how I think that the Idaho State game should be something. I do like it being at the end of the year. It kind of sucks because we'll put it the most optimistically way possible. This is not going to be a huge game that will overtake Cat Grizz for at least 20 to 25 years, right? This game is never going to be the marquee game that Root or ESPNU or whoever have on. So that kind of sucks. But for Idaho people, if you don't really care about Montana State is like the general state of Idaho does, then, this is great. Brian, as you talked on, our private stuff, which you can get into, there's a lot of sell from the state level. Like the state is getting behind it, including the government, which is really cool to see them really embracing it. That being said, I love Eastern. I think Eastern is a fun game. I'm having a lot of fun back and forth with people like Kyler Neal, Nick Fell, Rod Nichols, Kelsey Hatch-Barrett. So there's a lot of people that it's fun to jab with. I just think long-term, I worry about that game where in the future, I think Idaho State and Montana would have been better protected rivals for us. Montana being historic, it's the second most played game in the Big Sky Conference. I think we're coming on 86 or 87 this year. First time it kicked off was 1903 or something like that. So it's an old game. Both of them coming from the Pacific Coast Conference. I would have liked to seen that saved. Now, if we were going to lose that, 100%, I think losing it, like Montana choosing Eastern over us, who they have more history with, makes absolute sense. But instead, Montana is paired up with Bobby Houck's biggest buddy, Bruce Barnum. As a Grizz fan, I guess that's fun because Barnum's and Houck are buddies, and it's kind of like haha. But Barnum's on the edge of being fired. I mean, maybe Bobby Houck sticks around. I think he does. But what if he doesn't? Then you've got the next, Bob Stitt versus some BS Portland State coach, and people are gonna be like, this game sucks. So I don't know. In my opinion, I would have liked to see a little bit of trying to keep Idaho, Montana back, or for the Big Sky as a whole. If it's not going to be Idaho, it should have been Eastern for Montana. Montana State versus Eastern, though, that's a cool switch because Eastern needed somebody better than Portland State to play every year.
So the highlight or the asterisk to throw in here before we get Dallas's take. The conference also changed up their formula for scheduling, which is why they released 3 years. So as a Vandal, I can tell you I was pissed when I saw Montana wasn't on our yearly schedule. But the new formula the conference came up with, which is easier with one fewer team. Side note, we all know we just want a smaller conference in terms of number of teams. But the protected rivalries always take place, but now every 3 years, every team will play another team. So let's talk about Idaho and Montana for a second. Over the course of these 3 years, even though Idaho won't play Montana 1 year, it's just 1 year. And over the course of 3 years, we're going to play every team once at home and once on the road.